maybe ask.
Yeah, bring up anything.
Okay. Well, maybe one thing that I haven't really talked to a lot about with almost anyone, or almost anyone at all, is like there's this weird thing going on with my grandparents right now. About 5 or 6 months ago, they were living in a house by themselves, in Brentwood, and about 6 months ago we moved them into not an assisted living, but kind of like where we went for class, where all the meals are done and all that. They have their own little apartment, but anyway, and my grandmother is the one that would really needs to benefit from that because she can't get around, she doesn't drive anymore, so it's just really hard for her to like if something had happened to my grandfather, she would never be able to live on her own. And she's like diabetic, and she takes a lot of medication. Anyway, well, apparently ever since they've moved into this facility, she's become depressed. Like, from what I can understand, real depressed. Not just what people say. And so it's been a weird we knew that it wasn't easy for her. And it's kind of been hard just seeing her not very happy with the move, and they had to get rid of a lot of stuff. They were downsizing a whole lot. She doesn't they don't have a good support system at the facility, just because they don't have a lot of friends there. And so she always complains about the food. It's just not very good, but they go out a lot too. But anyway, my parents and I were at dinner a couple nights ago. And anyway, long story short, another facility in Franklin has opened up a new room, and they were interested in that before where they are now. And apparently they're contemplating maybe moving to this place, but it's a good bit more expensive than the place they're in now. And my mom is just not. I don't know that she's not taking it seriously on purpose. I don't think she's just dismissing it all, but I think she's just being really realistic, financially, because it's a lot. It's a couple $1,000s more a month, and they're not making. They don't have an income, and she's like, well, why would you move an entire place just for the food to be better or something, And it's just kind of weird for me to be there with seeing my parents deal with it, and then also seeing my grandparents, and also realizing that if she really is depressed, this is not something that you can just say, we'll just move and the food will get better and you'll be fine, it feels like I actually said to my mom the other night, what you're doing right now is the equivalent of just telling somebody to get over it, Anyway, it's just weird. And my dad is really on the fence because he's the oldest, and so he's always trying to take care of them and all that. But
is it your dad's parents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they're my sister and I are the oldest grandchildren, and so we really grew up with my grandparents, actively, they were, we would always go to their house and stuff like that, and my younger cousins are 12 years younger than me, and so they haven't really had that experience, so, or at least not my sister and I did, but yeah, that's just been a weird kind of thing that's just come up within the last couple weeks. I don't know, I haven't really talked to anybody about it, and it hasn't really, I just kind of found out about all of this within the last week, but I don't really know how to I don't know if I should talk to my grandparents about it, or if I should just stay out of it, or
Do you feel some level of responsibility as far as wanting to do something about it, or do you feel you're more just frustrated with the way it is being handled, or?
There's definitely, I think definitely more frustration with just how it's being handled, because I have 2 uncles that are my dad's brothers, and they're both married, and so I haven't really talked to anybody else except my, parents about it. But like, I'm kind of, older now, and so at least in my family, it's like, okay, I'm more aware of like the things that are going on. Like, I feel like when we were younger, you don't really get told stuff, or at least details, like at least in my family. And so, yeah, I think I'm just frustrated with like how it's being handled, and like it's kind of like I feel like everyone feels responsibility to like put their input in and decide what needs to be done, but then also like coming at it from like a mental health standpoint, I'm kind of concerned like, okay, all of this stuff about the food like doesn't really matter. Like, what shouldn't we be like worried about? Like my grandmother being depressed, So, I don't know.
It sounds like you have good communication with your parents, your
Mm-hmm.
mom, and you said something to her. You told her
Mm-hmm.
like how you felt. You told her you were frustrated with the way that she was handling it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like she listened to you, or?
I think that she did. I think it wasn't really a long conversation, and most of what was going on is my parents just kind of going back and forth, kind of unhappily about it. And that was kind of the beginning and end. We kind of just like stopped talking about it and moved on. But yeah, I think that I think she like understood where I was coming from, maybe, but I I didn't have the chance to really explain myself as much as I should have, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What would be ideal for you? Like, how would this situation best be handled?
I think that, well, I don't know. I think it's kind of a toss-up between, like, well, who's responsible for making that decision? Ultimately, obviously, it's my grandfather and my grandmother to make the decision of, are we going to move? Are we going to, do this or that? Or, they've been talking about getting her, like, a cat or something that would help with it. But, like, it is their decision, but, like, obviously all of, like, the sons and the daughters-in-law are going to have an opinion as well. And, I mean, obviously, I think my mom is coming out of it with, like, a very good intentioned concern, but I think that it's just hard, like, she's not really thinking of it. I think she's just thinking of it as, like, financially. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So why would you do it,
Mm-hmm. How often do you see or speak with your grandparents?
A couple times a month. They live in Cool Springs, so, but not a whole lot, just because, I have my own kind of schedule, but, yeah, probably a couple times a month. Just, like, seeing them, going to dinner and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed a change in your grandmother?
A little bit, I think. Not drastically, because I don't think I see her enough to really. And there's it's not like we're all just sitting around. Like, I think there's always something else going on when I see her, at least the past couple times. But yeah, I think every time I've seen her, I think she's also had some like health issues in the past couple months, and so she's always kind of like, well, I'm fine, I'm okay, but blah blah blah, or so I've noticed, yeah, I've noticed she hasn't been like particularly happy every time I see her.
Yeah. Do you feel like just kind of powerless in the situation?
I don't know, not necessarily. I think it's just like strange for me to be like, there's this weird like pattern in my life recently of like, I feel like I don't feel like an adult, but I know like by society standards I am, and that like extends to a lot of different things in my life, but especially this one in my family because I've always been like the niece or the grandfather and daughter, And so I feel like, you know, I'm obviously like the younger one in the family, but I have been obviously. But now, like, I feel like I'm being included in more of these decisions, and I'm more involved in decisions, I guess. And so I feel like I would be able to have a little bit more power and a little bit more like of a deciding force. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of like not putting in as much effort as I could or something. But I don't know. I don't think I feel powerless. Maybe.
How often do you think about it?
Well, it's only been since I had that dinner conversation with my parents. It's only been like maybe 4 or 5 days. I haven't thought about it a whole lot. I mean, a few times in the past few days, but I also haven't really like been seeking out. I don't know who I would really have talked to about it other than my parents, or you know, family. It wasn't really something that I would like seek out a friend and say like, hey, what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
So not a whole lot.
Sounds more like a situation that you would almost have to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like you're a part of it, but still not enough to really affect the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's distracting?
Not really. Not in like the day-to-day kind of routine. But I think that like it has the potential to kind of distract from other things. Depending on, you know, what happens, you know, in the next few weeks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If like decisions are made or whatever, but right now, not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. But that's just something that's come up recently.
Yes, like very recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't like it was just that one conversation, and I think that like I've kind of heard a couple things about it in the past like 6 months that they've been in this new facility, of like my grandmother not being very happy and all these things, but it's all kind of just culminated into like, okay, feels depressed and she has expressed that, and we might be moving or, you know, whatever. So it's kind of culminated in the recent past, I guess.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel like it's affecting your relationship with your parents?
I don't know. I don't think that has really affected it, and I don't know that it really will in a big way, but I think maybe it might be an opportunity for us to like maybe just communicate better, and for me to be able to like use the things that I'm learning maybe to kind of be not like an advocate or something, but that's like the best word I can think of right now. Kind of have put in my own opinion of it. I think that it's like I might have the opportunity to do that, but I don't know. I don't know. What did you ask?
How it affects the relationship with your parents.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty easy, at least for my parents and I, to, you know, have that one conversation and then, you know, be like, okay, dinner's over, like, you know, we have other things to do, so it's not like we're constantly talking about it, or at least in the, you know.
Is it typical that you disagree with the decisions your mom makes?
Not necessarily. I think that, I think one of the issues is kind of, I think my dad and my mom communicate pretty differently, and it not in a negative way, I don't think, because they've been married for, however, 28 years or something like that, or 30, I don't know, one of those numbers. But like, I've definitely been able to kind of see the results of like, they bicker a lot more, especially like around, it's, I don't know, maybe they just didn't do it, or I didn't notice it when I was little or something. But I think they just have different communication styles, and so like, as I'm getting older, I'm kind of seeing similarities and differences like between me and both of them, in all different kinds of ways, but also in communication. So a lot of times, like in this situation, we were sitting at the table and I was sitting beside my mom and my dad was where you are, and like he and I were kind of on the same page of like kind of being frustrated with what she was saying, and I don't know that she was like really completely understanding what the other side of the argument. And then like, so it was kind of like me and him were kind of like, okay, yeah, but that's not really how it works or whatever, and she was putting in her opinion, and so at least that was the dynamic when we were having a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, what do you feel you would want from yourself in dealing with this situation?
I think that I don't know. What do you mean? I don't know that I understand what you're asking.
Maybe it's being at ease with the disconnect between you and the situation going on, like feeling a little bit like just the frustration of it all, being okay with that, or would you be more content with yourself stepping in and doing something about it, whether that be with your parents or whether that be directly with your grandparents, maybe being more involved with your relationship with your grandmother, going to see her more often, or kind of doing independent research as to what she could do that might help, or what you could do to help her. And maybe over the next few weeks, those might be things that you think about as you kind of process the situation and what's going on and your part in it, and everybody else's part in it. Just be thinking about what you would like ideally for yourself in this situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think at least in the past few days, especially since I live like just in Cool Springs, and not that I go down there all the time, but I was even there like today. I just ran by to go run in the mall and get something, but I think that like, I don't know that I feel guilty that I don't really spend as much time with them that I should, but I do. And like I said, my other cousins are younger, and so, they're in school, and two of them live, in another state, and then my older sister lives in California, and so it's just, there's not as many people that are like, have, the opportunity to really spend time with them. So, I think that like maybe seeking out more opportunities to spend time with them, and also maybe like just seeing what I could do like realistically to help. Not necessarily like putting in my opinion of what kind of medication she needs to be on or something, but just like maybe doing, just being able to talk a little bit more and like being more available for that, and also like maybe being a little more open to like the conversation that's happening, and maybe, just like you were saying, like.
So it sounds like you do want to be a little bit more involved.
Yeah. I think that because I guess like because I have the responsibility, I feel I have the responsibility, and that I'm able to do it. You know, it's not like in January my schedule was absolutely crazy, but you know it's gonna start kind of smoothing out a lot more, and so I think maybe now that I do have a little bit more time on my hands, like that would, you know, that's probably something that I should be doing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that sounds like a good place to start to kind of explore
Mm-hmm.
just what you can do to be involved and to kind of think about things. I don't know, go from there.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah.